Well, I don't know if that happened to work well with the intro. I was trying to go live on X as well because there's a way of doing that. But it says I'm required to do some stuff. So we're just going to remove that one, my homie, from there. But I'm assuming we're still live.
Yep, looks
Welcome
like
to the
it.
Mile High Hotspur. My name is Leo Coys. I am joined by the driver of the Daddy Shuttle who just parked the joint to come and stream with us, my homies. Big up to Crash. How are you doing, my homie?
Oh, doing great. It's been a great day. You're right. I did. I just came from the fields with my team, and being the daddy shuttle. I was my daughter was homesick, but I was bringing home one of our neighbor boys who also plays for the Rapids program up here in the north. So I'm definitely always driving some kid around. That's for sure.
That's what's up, bro. That's what's up, homie. Yo, emergency meeting today, Crash. Emergency meeting. The Rapids have been doing some moves. Look at this guy coming in, Max. How are you doing, my homie? Max, a Gooner and a Rapids fan. He says one thing to say is Eberezi Eche. Dude, honestly, homie, before we even talk about the Rapids, I just want to say, yeah, Arsenal did get Eze, but he was always going to go to you guys. He's a Gooner. So why? I mean, it makes 100% sense for him to go there. Anyways, Max, you know, and I know that both of our teams are shit. So it is what it is. He always clowns on me because I'm a Spurs fan and he's an Arsenal fan. And it's lovely
And he's good
banter.
people.
No, of course, Max is good people. He just talks a lot of shit.
Well, as any good Arsenal fan should.
I agree, bro, especially to a person like me. So it's all fair play and love, my homie. Um, Crash, let's get on with this business, my homie. And it's club record business, not just any type of business, homie.
Absolutely.
We splashed the cash, broke the bank, as I said, I think in the thumbnail.
Mhm.
Before we break down basically who or what this player is and what he'll bring to us, I need to get and start this off with your opinion, my homie, on just how this went down. It went down fairly quick. The price, the impact. How you feeling, my homie?
Um, I'm feeling really good. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you know, we had a pretty rough go. We had a bad taste in our mouth. Georgie leaving. We
Yes.
were kind of up in arms, and I think the key of that is the historical context of KSC and the front office, not being able to really make significant moves. Georgie leaves on he was our guy, and he was kind of who they were seemed like they were building the team around, and left, and we would expect that to happen and be gone, and then just that is what the season is, right? Where we don't make those moves, we don't try to push for the playoffs, we punt until the next season, or we get in some loan up, something, right? And it's usually lackluster. Org Smith, even in the press conference after Georgie left, had mentioned that they're gonna, kind of not use all the money in one place and try to, bring in a few different players to fill that role or what. And then 2 days ago or yesterday or whenever that was, how it seems like it came quick. Either way,
Right.
we get a lovely Tom Bogert announcement that the Rapids are in final conversations with Paxten Aaronson, and the Twitter world blew up, and I am
Right.
not kidding. So on paper, you look at Paxton. Anybody who's been pays attention to the USMNT or any of those kind of European bound US players. You'll know his brother Brendan. He plays for Leeds, and then his brother Paxton is was over at Utrecht in the Netherlands, but he was loaned out. He was a Frankfurt player who was being out there on loan. And so I knew of Paxton and I knew of Brendan. And anybody who really kind of follows knows that Paxten, Brendan's a good player, but Paxton's, arguably better than his brother and younger. And
Right.
when you look at his play, you kind of see that shine. He played a lot in the Olympics. He got a call up during the Gold Cup, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got a few caps with the U.S. National team at this point, but not a ton. But there's a lot of USMNT homers out there who were definitely high on him, and they voiced their frustrations the
Yeah.
moment they heard he was coming to the Rapids. And boy, did I enjoy every minute of that. So if you look at his play, I'm just going to say he's typically an attacking midfielder. He can kind of play central. He can play attack. In the attack, he can kind of play left wing as well. I think where he might end up with us, depending on the formation. But he's a pressing monster. He loves to get on the ball quick. He's not afraid to win the ball back and get up the field. He's got some good quality on the ball. He's not going to be the free kick taker like Djordje is, and he's not as prolific of a free kick taker as Djordje had on lockdown when he was here. But all the metrics are showing that he is a younger, better, more established player, especially in the Netherlands and the Eredivisie than Djordje was. And that's why everyone was so frustrated with him leaving, because he was so successful over there. And so I'm excited. I think he's probably the fit or model of a attacking midfielder that Armas actually would really want in his team. And I think he's actually going to be a really solid fit alongside Hoffa. So I'm personally really excited. And on top of that, just so excited to see KSC actually spend money and put their money where their mouth is, and actually was able to bring in a player of his caliber and take a chance. And this isn't like an unproven like Cabral situation. We know what Paxton's capable of. He's a homegrown. He's from Philly, from the Philly Academy, and we know that they're really good. Academy building up players. So I'm excited all the way around. And the more the USMNT homers out there get pissed online, the happier I'm going to be, because it's all nonsense.
Yeah. So I'm not the biggest. I've said this before. I'm not the biggest of what's the word I'm saying? Like, I don't tweet as much. I'm not on X. I use X for like my content here, right? To be able to share it. I don't. It's very tough for me to like read all the scrolls, and I don't really know how to interact with a lot of what I see on these posts. But I did see the homie Jim changed his handle. I like that one. Pax Mental Pim, I think I seen it was, or yeah, Pax Mental Pim. Big up to that. I seen there was a bit of an outrage. People asking why he would make this move, coming to and to all places, a market like the Rapids. Let's take it back a notch, and just in case anybody wants to, first of all, big up to Jared in the chat. And then I put the link if anybody wants to hop on and just, I guess, have your say. Feel free. Just to back things up a bit, homie, I'm not too familiar with this player. I'm familiar with the last name because I've seen it in the Premier League with Leeds, how you mentioned just a minute ago. I honestly, bro, it didn't even correlate. Like, I didn't even mix the two together. So I kind of had to go and do my research, my quick homework, if you will, on Paxten. And from what I'm seeing is he's a very young kid, right? 21 years old, began his MLS career with the Philadelphia Union in 2020 before transferring to Frankfurt in 2023. It says here his performance in Europe, most recently on loan, as you mentioned, to Utrecht. He tallied 9 goals, 6 assists in 37 league matches in 24-25, earning him a nomination as a finalist for the Johan Cruyff Talent of the Year award. International experience. He's also represented the U.S. at multiple levels, the senior team, Olympics, U20s, and U23s, and was instrumental in his youth teams, notably winning the Golden Boot and the Golden Ball at the 2022 CONCACAF U20 Championship. So you actually said, that he's a baller, even probably more so than his older brother. Um, and I kind of want to talk a little bit more about, let me see, what this means for the Colorado Rapids. So in order for us to get him, we used the designated player slot, and he's replacing Djordje Mihailović. Now his arrival follows, like I said, the trade of the number 10 Djordje Mihailović to Toronto for the record of $8 million. And it looks like we just about paid all of that to Frankfurt, Eintracht Frankfurt. Crash, I think I seen somewhere in the region of 7.5 to maybe even 8.5 million. That's a price tag for a young kid, my homie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so they took all that Georgia money and put it right into Frankfurt's pocket for to bring Paxten over, and so I'm excited by that, and I think that just shows how high they are on him. I mean, if you looked at, I think it was Transfer Market, his value is right around 800 million euros, so what, like 8.5 million US. So their the valuation and what they paid for him was pretty close. I will also say that he did have offers or potential suitors out there. I think Southampton was one, and I think there
Ooh,
was another club in Germany who was interested as well. So he had options, and he
right.
chose to come to Colorado. And you can guess on why. You can speculate on if it was, people are saying he did it for the money or otherwise. And here's the deal: is, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he got a pay bump to come over. That's always helpful. That always makes things easier. But a young kid looking to make his name. He's looking at an opportunity to play for a club in Europe. He did have a good opportunity with Utrecht and played very well. But the other side of it is, anywhere else in Europe he's going to go. At that age, he's probably going to be a depth player or a squad player. He's not going to be the guy. And he comes to the Rapids, and he's going to have a team working around him, right? He's an integral part of that. He's going to be an every game starter, um, with the and get those solid minutes. So you can battle on whether the MLS is a quality league and all this other stuff, but Homeboy's going to get lots of minutes. He's going to be the guy who's going to have to carry a team on his shoulder. So the experience of that, alone with every day, every game starting, he's going to be ready, and I think he's hungry for that home World Cup coming next in 26. So he's eyeing that opportunity. He knows that he's got other friends and USMNT players that are on the team
Yeah,
that he's used to. So and if you listen to the press conference, what Porig and Armas were selling to him, he bought, and he seemed like he was
absolutely.
in, and it's what he wanted. And you can't ask for a better opportunity for a kid like that who's going to have a team that's really behind him and supporting him, and allow him to develop and make those mistakes and learn from them. Right? He's going to go to Europe. He makes a mistake, he might be out of the squad in
Yeah,
general. And I people give him a lot of crap, but development, he has a lot of developing left to go, and a lot of ceiling left in him. And I'm excited to see what Armas can work with him
mm.
on. He's shown he can do that with the young players.
Crash. Before we carry on talking about PAX 10, I seen how you put the PAX 10
Yeah.
in the chat at the Rapids post conference. Big up to Victor Pulido. Big up, my homie says, "What's up, fellas? I just learned the Rapids and Padraig Smith actually closed the deal. I'm excited, but there still is work to do." Fair play. There's fair. That's actually bang on, my homie. That's why I put that as part of the poll. You know what I mean? Because it's definitely, there's still some work to do. Um, Let me see here. I wanted to jump back into a little bit of what I was kind of catching up on. And Crash, I want to bring up why this matters. This signing matters right now, and especially like in this time frame for Rapids and Rapids fans, because right now we sit in seventh in the Western Conference, right? As the season is getting near the crucial stages. And Aronson's arrival is going to offer us fresh creativity and goal threat to strengthen our postseason bid. And let's talk a little bit about a strategic ambition. Club president emphasized that Ronson embodies the young, hungry player that they aim to build around, signaling a clear direction for the Rapids identity and Rapids construction. And a little bit to add on that, like we kind of spoke about, Crash, he adds the homegrown pride as a U.S. youth international returning back to the MLS. His signing underscores the league's growing role in developing and showcasing domestic talent ahead of the 2026 World Cup. And not only that, my homie, he joins what seems like is becoming a trend, right? You don't have to be a washed-up footballer, on the back end of his legs. You can be an up-and-coming person, an up-and-coming talent that wants to take on this role, right, at a team like the Rapids. And yeah, it's gonna ruffle feathers. You said earlier the Twitterverse or the Xverse was 50-50 on it, my homie. And that's what you want. You know what I mean? Moves that are gonna be making good noise and bad noise. You know what I mean? People are not for it. Why? Because they think he's too good for the Rapids. People like us who want to see our team do better, we're all for it because these are the type of players we want and need in our squad. Crash, tell me I'm tripping, or is
Absolutely.
that not facts, my
No,
homie?
it's facts. You're preaching, man. And if you saw any of my tweets over the past couple of days, you would hear me commenting on people talking about how irrelevant the Rapids are. And the frustration was not that he was coming to MLS, because I mean, let's be honest. I think a lot of US player or fans want to see US homegrowns playing in the MLS, especially young talented players. I mean, we want that level of talent in MLS because that gives us more exposure and it gives us more credibility as a league. But the reason why they were frustrated was because it was the Rapids. It was Rapids are irrelevant. Why would he go there? Like why? But you know what? You know what makes the Rapids not irrelevant? People like Paxten coming to the team and people talking about how irrelevant the Rapids are. And like they always say, there's bad press is better than no press. Well, people are talking about the Rapids right now, and I think it's nice, and I think one of the really positive things coming out of this, and I hope Paxton, if he pays attention to anything on socials or even this podcast, I hope he understands that all Rapids are excited to have him and are fully behind his decision, and we are welcoming him with open arms because I've never seen the Rapids social community coalesce around a common thread, as in standing up and supporting his decision to come to the Rapids, than I have in the past 2 days. So big up to all of those Rapids fans out there on Twitter or Instagram or wherever, and for vocalizing your support, getting banned off of these USMNT pages because you upset
Savages.
them with your posts. And the funny thing is they were not even bad posts. They were just annoyed that they had a good point and didn't want to hear it. And so big up to all you guys out there supporting our new homie Paxton and welcoming in, because I sure hope he released. I think he even came up at the press conference. I think it was Brandon Norse had mentioned that at the top. So I was excited. I'm excited for him. And good to have him here for sure.
Wow. You know what, my homie? I also have to say something. I was watching the post conference here in my garage on the TV, and they got me thinking, Crash. And I'm gonna go full screen here. I'm gonna go full screen here, and I'm gonna talk directly to the Rapids because my homie Crash and I, this podcast here on a regular basis, right? And I would say let's go ahead and bring the homie back on here. I just wanted to add some. I think we add a bit to, the rapid sphere. So maybe two press passes. You know what I mean? Maybe we can get sorted out with two press passes for us. You know what I mean? We'll take baby steps, but just keep that in mind, Rapids. You got two homies over here that would gladly accept some press passes, so we can come back home and talk about what went down at those meetings, or at those conferences. I just had to throw that out there, Crash. You know what I mean? Because
There you go.
I'm
No, I
seeing
appreciate it.
tons of content creators there, and I'm like, hold on, like we could definitely be putting some of this out there as well. You know what I mean? So just putting that
Absolutely.
out there. But I go from mild criticisms to bigging up the Rapids, and I'm gonna say, what a class move by the organization, Crash, offering the opportunity to trade in your Djordje Mihailović kit, so you can
Huge.
then get yourself a brand new 10 with Aaronson on the back.
Yep. No,
Fair
I
play
agree.
for that one,
Yeah.
my homie.
And the key of it is seeing the
Oh, yeah.
club doing right by the fans.
Yes.
And I think, with Djordje wanting to leave and that being a surprise, it being a big shock, and I think obviously there was a big reaction after that. I know I wrote a letter. I know Jim wrote a letter. I know a lot of people were voicing their opinions and connecting with their their season ticket representatives or front office, just to voice their, frustrations and
Mm.
for more, it was about making sure they were accountable to, reinvesting that back into the club, and they did. And then even in taking an extra step to say, you know what, we want to do right by the fans. We're gonna allow you to change out that Djordje jersey. You can have our new 10, and so we can show our support for him. I think that's just a class act by the club, and it's the type of club that I want to support. And that just shows me that they are in touch with the fans. They are paying attention. They are listening to stuff like this. They do read the letters, or they read the tweets. And not that they're reading it, to every little detail to match, but just to be in touch with where the fans are and how we feel, and to make sure that we feel appreciated. So I'm excited. I hope this is the start of a reinvestment into the club. And I hope that they don't just stop here. I think it's very historical KSE that they would make a move and kind of pause. I really do hope to see more, whether it's more investment back into the facilities, or more investment back into training facilities on site, or God forbid, a new scoreboard at some point.
Yeah, bro. Let's talk a bit about how Paxten is going to be able to slot into this team.
Yeah.
We've seen how without a number 10, and before I even go any further, I don't remember who it was asked him what position where he felt he was going to slot in. He said he's okay playing an 8 and playing a 10. When he said that, I'm kind of thinking like he's naming off some of his traits and like what he's doing, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh my God, don't we already have like an overload of this type of player? You know what I mean? But I also want to think that he'll be able to play that 10 role pretty well. So my question to you, Crash, is we've been playing this back 3, back 5, whatever you want to call it, without a 10, and we've been facilitating our 3 up top, you know what I mean? With a player like this walking into our squad, do you think we try and disrupt the little bit of flow? Because we obviously have gained some momentum. I mean, we've gotten 2 games on the bounce now, you know what I mean? 2 good games on the bounce at that, you know what I mean? Solid performances from our team. And Armas is a guy who he won't change it unless it starts to get broken. So I don't see him reverting back to the 4-2-3-1 this quickly, or until Aaronson is more bedded in. What are your thoughts, homie? What do you think we'll see this weekend if he gets any minutes? Like how do you think we'll break him in?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of, especially with Saturday, Galaxy likely having a rotated squad because they're going to be focusing on
Yeah,
Leagues Cup.
good
So
point.
it'd be interesting to see kind of how. I doubt he's going to start by any means. He might get 30 minutes just out there. I mean, he's going to have one ish day of training
Yeah,
with the guys to get going. I mean, granted, they're
yeah,
not. It's not rocket science, when you're playing soccer, and the formations are kind of the formations, and the philosophies are the philosophies. So I think he's going to be able to pick it up pretty quickly. But he might get 30 minutes, just to get his legs under him and get some minutes out there. Um, I would assume that Armas is going to not change the lineup. I think we might keep that three at the back formation we've been doing. Um, and you're most likely going to see Paxten, they're probably on the left wing.
mm,
His main position is the attacking midfielder, but he does play central midfield really well. So that eight, that deep lying playmaker, but he also has the left wing as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him, slot over there, whether it's um, uh, whether it's a sub for Yappy on the left, or maybe it's a midfielder that he subs in for at some point in the game. But I'm excited either way, just to see him out there, even if it's just on the bench to get started. One thing I don't want to do is get him in the mix too quickly. Is this the right game to do that? I'll leave it to the coaching staff, but I'm excited either way. But we'll probably see him either out on the wing or in that central midfield role.
yeah. Fair shout, bro. Fair shout. Yeah, I'm interested to see myself as well where he'll slot in. I agree. I don't think we're going to see a massive change, if any change at all. One thing that kind of was overshadowed throughout this whole day, and I'll bring up the homie Jared's comment back up, was Rob Holding got everything cleared, so now he's ready to go train, ready to start getting some action with the team. And like I said, that was kind of overshadowed by this whole thing here. And Crash, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not that really like active on the X. I just seen earlier, like an hour ago, that they had an event where you could go meet Paxten at a Catalyst earlier today, and I was bummed out because like when I'm seeing it, I'm like, dude, there's like a half hour left. No way I'm making it. You know what I mean? So that's dope that they did something like that. The Pitties have an open practice tomorrow as well, is what I'm seeing.
They sure do. Yeah, they
So
have an open practice for season ticket holders. So if you're a STM member, make sure you get out there and take a look. I may or may not be able to make it. I do have some work conflicts that I might be able to sneak through and catch the tail ender of it at lunch or something like that. But yeah, there is an open training to see both Rob and Paxton out there on the pitch, which will be exciting. If not, if anybody wants to catch some video or wants to live stream on the Twitter, that would be much appreciated if you're there on site. I would definitely pop into that stream just to see how it's all going. I will
nice.
say
There you
the
go.
team store will be open. My rep did let me know this team store will be open, and you do have your opportunity to switch out your Georgie 10 jersey, whether it's a Headwaters kit or the green vintage kit. You can switch either one of those two out and get. There's a couple options you can get there, so you can do it there on site, and they'll get you squared away
Shit.
for when they come in.
They better be switching out my game worn Djordje Mihailović autograph for I'll take just a replica, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
joking. Uh, Jared says, I think they use him in a free role, a 10, exactly like Georgie. He was scoring and providing in the Eredivisie and the Bundesliga. I want him in the engine room ASAP. I agree, my homies. Let's get this young man cooking. But yeah, I don't want to rush him. I definitely, it's going to take a player a bit more getting used to this higher altitude, I would imagine. You know what I mean? Just getting up
Well,
to speed.
and two, he's coming from preseason over in Germany, so I mean
Okay.
he doesn't have the game minutes that the rest of the team does. So I mean he's fresh and ready to go, but also preseason you need to get some form. So he needs to get some
Right.
30 minutes. He needs to get his legs under him, get some more training time out with the guys. So I expect to see him get a few minutes. I just don't know how many.
Yeah, I agree. Um, let me see here, my homie. Some other talking points that I had on here. We're definitely gonna, I'm seeing here just a little bit of his time in Netherlands, like we talked about, 9 goals, 6 assists, and that's a bigger turnout than what Djordje provided while he was out there. I'm probably
Yeah.
even inclined to say a bigger output than what Cole Bassett was doing at Excelsior, right out there in Holland as well. And
Yeah, there's no arguing that Paxton had a much better time in Europe than either of those two. It's especially Georgie. I mean, Georgie went over there and he did not take off the way he probably felt he should over in Eredivisie and with was it AZ Ahmed or whatever
yeah.
the
Is that Alkmaar?
exactly. And that's why he came back to the Rapids, right? He came back to really reboot his career, and he did and took off, right? But the thing about Paxton is he was in form there. He was doing really, really well there, and so between the two of them, there's no arguing he had the better time and better experience abroad.
Well, even at that crash, I'll even rewind it a bit more, homie. His parent club, Eintracht Frankfurt, is known for developing and selling huge names. You know what I mean? I think they just got rid
Yeah,
of Ekatike to Liverpool. They got rid of Frimpong to Liverpool. Um, oh, that's Bayer Leverkusen. I'm sorry, I'm tripping. Eintracht Frankfurt just won the was it the Europa League or the Conference League a couple years ago with Oliver Glasner?
Conference League,
So
I think.
yeah, the Conference League with the system that Oliver Glasner, who now implements that at Crystal Palace. So if this was the type of player that they were looking at during that time, like that's a fucking a banging move for the Rapids. Um, LA is sea level. The kid has been flying and playing on short notice his whole life. I agree, weaning him makes sense, but I wouldn't be surprised if he features in the 11, and that also is a fair shout. Um,
Yeah,
Crash, real quick, they during the press conference, they mentioned a lot. They didn't mention his dad mentioned how, and you could kind of like hear in his voice how he said, Denver is just such a sports town, and he kind of has that bit of connection with Denver because I think he said his dad owns like or has some sort of business offices here in Denver, so he's been here
yeah.
a bit before. So kind of almost like if he felt a bit more comfortable to choose this place, you know what I mean? When you have your dad just tell you like, dude, like I mean, and it's facts, bro. The Broncos they have a huge market. They're a big team. You know what I mean? You're talking about even the Rockies, like they suck, don't get me wrong, but like it's still like the attraction is still a good venue, you know what I mean? You have the Nuggets, a championship caliber team, and now you're gonna be the face of a team hopefully for years to come, my homies. Big up to Logan. How you doing, my homie? He says, sorry I'm late, but this is the best acquisition the Pits can get right now. Coming in hot with a
Absolutely.
great take. Um, Crash, just your opinion, bro. Like, I know that wasn't the buying point, you know what I mean, or the selling point, but like, just knowing that, even his parents just felt like this was the right move for him, just is makes me feel even more on board, homie.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, you got to think, you know, going over being a young kid, going overseas, dealing with that. There's challenges. You know, having your family be able to be close by is a positive thing, especially as a parent. You get to that point, and you want to see your kids succeed and do their best, but you also want to see them playing their best game, and being a leader on a team. And you can kind of hear that from his dad speaking, and he's just proud, happy to have him
Mhm.
close by, but he wouldn't have pushed for him to come home to play if he thought it was a bad move, right? I think constant minutes on a team who's going to really put the time in to help develop you to the next level and get you to the next level that you can be is probably really what they sold him on. because that's what they've been doing, and that's who Armas really is. And as a parent, that's the kind of coach that you want for you want a coach that, coming from a coach who does this for my kids is worrying about the player first and not about the results. And I think, in Europe, the coaches are solely focused on results, right? And I think in this moment, they're going to be able to focus on what he needs to develop to get better and in those moments. And I think Armas is perfectly suited for that. And so as a parent, you're looking at that going, I want this coach to be bought in. I want this coach to be somebody who's going to help my kid get to that next level, get him to the
Absolutely.
World Cup or get him to the national team or get him back to Europe, to play his best form in a club that's putting him as a starter. So, whether that happens or not, or whether he's one of the best, tens in MLS, it's not a bad deal either way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Logan, we're good, bro. We had to come and talk about this bank breaking
Yep.
transfer. Jared says, even if we are a stepping stone, if he steps forward, that's good news for us generally. And that's facts. And then
100%.
Logan comes up and says, that's true, but he hopes he brings our team's level up. I definitely think he will off of the bat. Um, there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, so he even said so himself. I say Paxton said, you know, I don't I didn't catch that he mentioned where or who else was in for him, but I did hear him mention that um he felt more comfortable of the thought of walking into a locker room where he was going to see and feel more at home with these people in the locker room. I think he said like Josh Atencio. I don't know if he like named many names, but I know he said Josh, and I seen some of his some of the content that they've released, and he talked about knowing some of these players already
Yeah,
and feeling comfortable with them. And he even said, I don't know like verbatim, but um,
I've got it
he
here.
would prefer he would prefer to step into this locker room than to step into
Yeah.
just a foreign locker room or a stranger locker room.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so on the team, he knows both Josh and Cole from the Olympic camps. Because remember, Cole is an alternate for that, so he knows those two guys from camps. He's played U20s with Yappy, so he's familiar with them. He's got a relationship with Stefan from the Gold Cup camp, even though Stefan had to leave early because of the injury from there. And then even people like Keegan, from the
In
days in
Philly.
Philadelphia,
Yep.
where
Yep.
he was a kid in the
Yep.
academy, looking up to Keegan as that MLS player he wanted to
Yep.
to emulate.
He,
So,
I
um,
even seen him say that. Yep.
yeah, so I mean, there's people on the team that he's definitely going to be comfortable with. That's going to come in and be like, you know what, this is a group, and you got to think too, like, if you ever go to a new club or you go, he's being loaned out from place to place, and you're going to these different, you have to, it's not a most welcoming environment, I would imagine, in those European clubs at all times, right? Everybody's battling for their spot. Everybody's really fighting and I would imagine there's also a stigma towards US players.
I was about to say,
Where
especially being a Yank.
almost like an anti-bias against us, right? So you're going to have to work even harder to do that, which I think is always good for development, but also that could break a young kid, right? You're in there, you're alone, you don't have your family and friends close by or people that care for you close by. That can be a really negative deterrent for a lot, and I think that's probably why you see a lot of the US players wash out. So if he can develop and work and get those kind of key moments to push himself forward here with the Rapids, which I don't see why he couldn't. And I
Yeah.
see he's going to have a lot of success. But yeah, so Logan, I see he's got in the chat. He was with Southampton and then Salzburg, right? RB Salzburg was the other team
Yeah.
that was really gunning for him out of the Bundesliga.
Mm. Yeah, man, let's go. Super stoked for this one, my homies. I'll ask the chat if you would please like this stream. Is there anything from the chat, maybe that we didn't talk about that you might want to discuss? Maybe drop a
Yeah,
question. Crash
there's
even
a
yourself,
there's
my homie.
There's a couple things I wanted to go back. I know we were all curious kind of how the deal happened. Because if anybody who's kind of paying attention to the roster build and kind of how that works, you knew
Yeah.
Georgie leaving opened up a DP slot, but you also knew that we had Alexius Manyoma coming in that kind of took the U22 slot. So we're like, how do we have an open slot? So during the press conference, Korg did confirm that Josh Atencio was moved off of the U22 roster. So however they, whether they're paying him just full or with GAM or otherwise. So that opened up that slot, which allowed 3 U22s. And then now we have the 2 DPs with Hoffa and Paxten. But that leaves us one open slot left. So whether that's being used as a U22 in the future or a future DP, once Kevin Cabral is kind of off the books, which he did hint that he should be signed imminently in Europe, which is exciting for Kevin Cabral, which he deserves to go to a club and get some time in a new league. But the moment he gets that contract, he is off our books, and that means we have an open slot, whether U22 or DP. So there could be more good things to come in the future, and we don't know what they're going to be. But it's exciting to see where we move forward. If we're 2 U22s or 2 DPs and 4 U22s, or 3 DPs and 3 U22s, it's exciting that we have that opening too.
Good shout, bro. During the live stream of the press conference, I commented in there, like my hat goes off to the Rapids, because I feel that like with this roller coaster of a couple of months that we've been having, even before Djordje left, you know what I mean? Like the results weren't there. I think we went on like a couple of 3-game losing streaks, you know what I mean? Like, and then we would win one and then drop a couple. It's been a massive roller coaster, even of a season, bro. And I just kind of felt that like making a signing like this, and just how everything broke down, bro. I mean, happened. We talked about the whole jersey swap, and and I'll even rewind it a bit more and talk about how they came out and addressed the whole situation with Djordje Mihailović, which they didn't need to do, and they came out and said what their plans were. They kind of even hinted at we would be getting rid of some of the GAM, you know what I mean, and trying to make some moves, and just there's tons of options, and they expressed that. And I feel like I even told you before the stream, bro, fair play to the Rapids for holding that press conference and making it that big of a deal. You know what I mean? For even making Paxten feel that wanted, you know what I mean? Like that important. Dude, when's the last time, I can't remember. When's the last time that they signed somebody and did that, Crash? You know what I mean? Like, when's the last
It would have
time that
been maybe Djordje last year,
so
maybe.
there you go. So there you
Yeah,
go. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
And this is stuff that like the club doesn't need to do. You know what I mean? They could have just
Yeah,
posted a nice little 2-minute compilation of welcome to the Rapids, and then the up the Pids, quick Instagram post from
exactly.
Paxten afterwards. But they made it a whole event, bro. They made it like a
They
whole
sure
a
did.
whole day, a whole
Oh,
day
with
long
the meet
thing.
and
You know what I
greet,
mean?
there's a meet and greet going
That's what I'm
on
saying.
that's probably this evening. There's a press conference. There's the last minute. Watch the team tomorrow. There's another fan experience that's coming up later. So they're really pushing into it, which I'm happy. It just shows that the club's really investing, and they want to show that they're not sitting on their on their hands and not doing anything to make sure we get into the playoffs. So it's good. Big up to the club to show that passion and get the team in. And I think the interesting thing is they were talking to Pax during the press conference. Borg had mentioned that it really kind of came together over the last 2 weeks. So really, when Djordje was on a plane to Toronto, they started these conversations with Paxten to see if they could get him in. So 2 weeks to sell him, get him over here and sign the paperwork on decision day. Not bad work from the front office.
God damn it, Crash. I wish my number one team, Tottenham, could take some notes from their fucking arch rival, who
Yeah,
happens to own my second favorite team. and get those damn signings over the line and act like a
Yep.
big club. Damn it.
Yeah, it sounds like your Spurs got a little played on that deal, though. I don't know if the Spurs had anything to do with that. That was probably a little bit of gamesmanship by
We're
the
we're
agents
we're
over
we're,
there.
we just always buy the hotel for the player to come to London, have his medical, sign with the other team, have his nice meal, and go off to the other club in London. You know what I mean? I'm used to it, my homie. I'm used to it, bro. It's not the first
Yeah.
time, and it's not the last time. So like I said, another reason why I take my hat off to the Rapids. I mean, to the organization. They fucking nailed it with this one, my homie. Like I put it,
Yeah.
they knocked it out of the park with this one, Crash. Any
One
final
other
thoughts,
thing,
Crash? Yeah, there you go, my homie.
last final thing. He's a good kid. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That he is a good kid. You hear him talk, he doesn't like there's not an arrogance about him. There's just a humbleness about him. He's just like, I'm a 21-year-old kid who loves playing football. You know what I mean? And he wants to be on their pitch. He wants to give it his all. He wants to run through the brick wall for the coach. He wants to win for the team. And so for me, the way I look at it is he's going to be a player who's going to play for the badge. He's going to give it his all every time he steps across that touch line. And I'm here for it. I'm excited. And, I think he's hungry and he does have something to prove and to work towards. So he's not like just taking the bag and then I'm just going to, make it easy, fun time in the MLS. He's out there. He wants to prove something. So I'm excited to watch it.
Let's fucking go. I did end the
I like
poll in the chat. It was 50-50 for all of the above, and he was the icing on top. Not my words, those were the president's words himself. Drake Smith said this was the icing on the cake. And once he said that, I was like, ooh, talk to me nicely, my homie. The icing on the cake.
yeah.
Crash, anything that you want to plug, my homie?
Nope, nothing to plug. Just come out to the next home game, which I'm not sure when it is. Is that 2 weeks from now?
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, come out, say hi if you see me out there. I'm usually wandering around with one of my kiddos or the family, and if you see me over, I'm usually over in section 109. So just say hi. Otherwise, you can follow me at Daddy Shuttle on Twitter or X. You'll see me, chatting up and throwing some shade to the USMNT guys if they keep, doing what they're doing. But otherwise, just chatting with the homies.
Let's go. Yo, I forgot to start this. Man, the damn freaking intro threw me off for a loop. It didn't start. But I want to big up the C38, the Centennial 38, for everything that they do, not only on the match days, but just in general for the Colorado Rapids fans as well. The Mile High Locos, big up to the Locos for always providing the match day sounds there with the drums and stuff. And the Capos, big up to Paul and Logan. And what else? Anything else? Nah, my homies. I mean, thank you guys for tuning into this. If you're watching live still, we highly appreciate it. Like this stream. If you're watching it on playback, like this stream. And we're gonna be waiting on those press conferences, right? Right, Crash? They'll be coming, homie. Don't worry, they're coming. They're on their
That's
way.
right. Hey, I'd be happy to be a part if they have an extra spot in the press row. I would love to rub some elbows um, with the boys up there. So yeah, give us a shout. We'll come in
Let's
and
go up the fucking
ask some tough
pants.
questions.
We don't want to go too rough because we'll be one and done, bro.
No, we're good. We ask the good questions. So
Yeah.
we
I feel you, homie. Well, this is your go-to place for all things yitties and pitties. Have a good one, my homies. Thanks for joining this emergency stream. Up.